Welcome back to Kuma English Listening Hub. Today we are going to step behind the scenes of something you probably use but almost never think about: how airlines decide where planes actually fly. Not the pilots, not the air traffic controllers, but the people and systems that design the invisible map in the sky. This world is called airline route planning, and it is far more strategic, competitive, and complex than it might seem when you just open a booking app and choose a destination. In this episode, you will learn how airlines choose which cities to connect, why some routes disappear, and how your ticket price is shaped long before you ever arrive at the airport. So, put on your imaginary seatbelt and let us explore the hidden logic of airline routes. First, let us clarify what an airline route actually is. When most travelers think about a route, they picture a line on a map: London to Tokyo, Sao Paulo to New York, Sydney to Singapore. But for airlines, a route is more than just a straight line between two airports. It is a business decision, a logistical puzzle, and sometimes a political negotiation, all rolled into one. A route includes the cities that are connected, the airports that are selected in those cities, the times of day flights operate, the days of the week they run, the type of aircraft used. All of these choices influence whether that route earns money, loses money, or barely survives. Now, let us talk about who makes these decisions. Inside every major airline, there is a team often called network planning, route planning, or scheduling. These are not pilots or cabin crew. They are analysts, economists, data scientists, and aviation specialists who sit in offices surrounded by maps, spreadsheets, and forecasting software. Their job is simple to describe, but hard to execute. Put the airline's planes in the air on the routes and schedules that will make the most profit, with the least risk. They constantly ask questions such as, where is demand growing? Which city pairs are underserved? Can we add a new route without damaging an existing one? What happens if a competitor enters this market? They run simulations, test different scenarios, and use years of historical data. In a way, they are like grandmasters in a long, slow chess game that never really ends. So, how does an airline decide to launch a new route? Let us imagine a fictional airline called Skybridge Airways. Their planners are considering a new route between Lisbon and Toronto. At first glance, it may seem obvious. People in Portugal might want to visit Canada, and Canadians might want to see Portugal. But for the network planning team, that is only the starting point. They look at several layers of information. The first layer is demand. They ask, how many people already travel between Lisbon and Toronto, even if they must connect through other hubs like London, Paris, or New York? This is called indirect traffic. If many passengers are already traveling between these cities with one or two stops, that suggests there is potential demand for a non-stop route. They also look at tourism data, business links, family connections, and migration patterns. Are there many Portuguese communities in Canada? Are there growing business relationships between Canadian and Portuguese companies? Is tourism between the two countries increasing? If the answer to many of these questions is yes, the planners start to become more confident. The second layer is competition. Even if many people want to travel between two cities, competition can destroy profits. The planners ask, are other airlines already flying this route nonstop? If yes, how often do they fly and what kind of planes do they use? What are their prices like throughout the year? Sometimes, an airline may decide not to launch a route simply because a competitor is already very strong in that market. Other times, an airline might enter a route specifically to challenge a competitor or to protect its own network. The third layer is aircraft and cost. Planes are extremely expensive to buy and to operate. Every hour in the air has a cost: fuel, maintenance, crew salaries, airport fees, and more. So planners ask, which plane do we have that can fly this distance efficiently? How many seats does it offer? How much fuel will it burn on this specific route with typical weather patterns and winds? For example, flying westbound across the Atlantic often faces headwinds, which slow aircraft down and increase fuel consumption. Flying eastbound, the jet stream may help the plane and reduce fuel burn. The planners model these effects. If they choose a plane that is too large, many seats may remain empty during the low season, making the route unprofitable. If they pick a plane that is too small, they might have to turn customers away during peak seasons or fail to carry enough cargo to cover costs. The fourth layer is schedule and connections. Airlines do not only think about passengers who start and end their journeys in the two cities on the route, they also think about connecting passengers who might use the route as just one segment of a longer trip. Let us return to Skybridge Airways. If they launch Lisbon-Toronto, they might connect travelers from Madrid, Barcelona, or even Casablanca through Lisbon, and then onward to Toronto. On the other side, they might link Toronto to Vancouver, Calgary, or smaller Canadian cities. To make this work, flights must be carefully timed. Arriving flights need to come in within a certain window, so that travelers can change planes without spending too long at the airport. This is called a bank of connections. If the Lisbon-Toronto flight arrives too late in Toronto, passengers might miss onward flights. If it arrives too early, they might be stuck in the terminal for hours. So, schedule designers look at the whole network, like a web, not just at one route in isolation. So far, we have focused on starting a new route. But an equally important question is, why do routes disappear? You might have experienced this yourself. You discover a direct flight you love. It is comfortable, convenient, and avoids a transfer. Then, one day, you search for it and find that it has vanished. Often, this comes down to simple economics. If a route consistently loses money, it becomes a candidate for cancellation. However, it is rarely that simple. Some routes are kept alive because they feed important hubs. Others are maintained for strategic or political reasons, such as national prestige or government agreements. Seasonality is another major factor. Many routes are only profitable for part of the year. Think of islands that are popular in the summer, or winter destinations close to ski resorts. In these cases, airlines may run seasonal routes, operating only during the months when demand is strong enough. Outside that peak period, the plane might be used on another route where demand is higher. Now, where do governments and international rules come into this story? Airlines cannot just fly anywhere they want. International flights are governed by agreements between countries called air service agreements. These agreements determine which airlines can fly between which countries, how many flights per week are allowed, sometimes even which specific cities they can serve. In the past, many of these agreements were very restrictive, giving one airline from each country the exclusive right to operate on a route. Over time, many regions have moved towards so-called open skies agreements, which allow more freedom and competition. However, limitations still exist. This means that network planners must not only think about demand and profit, but also about what is legally possible. In some cases, airlines negotiate so-called fifth freedom rights, which allow them to carry passengers between two foreign countries as part of a longer route. For example, an airline from country A might fly from its home city to country B, and then continue to country C, while also carrying passengers between B and C. These rights are complex and often politically sensitive, but they can create interesting and unusual routes. Let us now look at a concept you may have experienced as a traveler: the hub and spoke system. A hub is a central airport where an airline concentrates flights. The spokes are the routes that connect smaller cities to this hub. Instead of flying between every pair of cities directly, airlines can route passengers through the hub. This allows them to serve many city pairs with fewer direct flights. For example, if you have 4 small cities and 1 hub, you only need 4 routes for everyone to be connected via the hub. If you wanted every small city to connect directly to every other, you would need many more routes. This system is efficient for airlines, but can be less comfortable for passengers who might prefer non-stop flights. Low-cost carriers sometimes use a different model. They may operate more point-to-point flights without a classic hub. However, even they must think about route planning, aircraft utilization, and seasonality. Another invisible element that affects routes is time zones. Planners must consider not only local times, but also how flight times feel to passengers. An overnight flight that leaves at midnight and arrives at 7 a.m. can be attractive because travelers feel they are not losing a full day. On the other hand, a flight that arrives at 3 a.m. can be very inconvenient. Business travelers might prefer flights that allow them to arrive in the morning, have meetings during the day, and then fly back in the evening. All of these preferences influence how routes and schedules are shaped. Now, let us briefly discuss how unexpected events shake up route planning. Events like volcanic eruptions, political conflicts, health crises, or sudden changes in fuel prices can force airlines to rethink their entire network, sometimes in a matter of weeks or even days. For example, if certain airspaces become restricted, airlines may have to reroute flights, adding extra time and cost. If a region experiences political instability, demand for travel may suddenly drop, making routes unprofitable overnight. During such times, network planners work almost like crisis managers, constantly adjusting schedules, shifting aircraft, and trying to protect the most important parts of the network. So, what does all this mean for you as a traveler and as an English learner? First, it means that the flight options you see are not random. They are the result of thousands of decisions made by teams of specialists who must balance demand, competition, cost, regulations, and risk. Second, understanding this can help you read the aviation world more intelligently. When you see a new route announced, you can ask yourself, why now? What is changing in tourism, business, or politics that makes this route attractive? When a route disappears, you can ask, did demand fall? Did a competitor become stronger? Did something change in the global environment? This type of questioning is not only useful for understanding airlines, it is a good way to practice critical thinking in English. From a language perspective, this topic also exposes you to important vocabulary related to travel, economics, and strategy. Words like demand, competition, scheduling, hub, capacity, and regulation are common in advanced English, especially in business and news contexts. As you listen, try to notice how these words are used in context. Then, think of how you might use them to talk about a completely different industry, such as shipping, online retail, or public transport. Before we finish, let us imagine you are the route planner. Suppose you work for a regional airline in Southeast Asia. Your company has one spare aircraft and wants to add a new international route. How would you decide where to fly? You would probably check which cities have strong tourism links with your country. Look at where your citizens travel for work or study. Study which routes are already crowded with competitors and which ones look underserved. Consider the flight time, fuel cost, and airport fees. See how the new route could connect with your existing flights. Even without being an aviation expert, you can see the logic. In many ways, route planning is about answering a simple question. Where can this aircraft do the most good for the airline's network at the lowest risk? As we land this episode, let us recap the key ideas. Airline routes are strategic decisions, not just lines on a map. Network planners analyze demand, competition, cost, and connections before launching a new route. Government agreements and international rules limit where airlines can fly and how often. Hub spokes and time zones all play important roles in designing schedules. Unexpected events can quickly reshape the global map of air travel. Next time you book a flight, take a moment to think about the invisible work behind the routes that appear on your screen. Somewhere, a planner has calculated, simulated, and debated whether that exact flight should exist. Thank you for listening to Kuma English Listening Hub. To get the most from this episode, you can listen again and try these activities. Shadow short sections of the audio to improve your pronunciation and rhythm. Pause and summarize what you have just heard in your own words. Note down new vocabulary and expressions, then create your own sentences with them. See you in the next episode, where we will explore another hidden system that shapes our everyday lives, all while helping you move closer to true C1 listening confidence. Bye for now.